Brachim Habayim, welcome. My name's Wayne Firestone. On behalf of all my colleagues at the America-Israel Friendship League, it's great to be back with you here for our webinar series. We have indeed, during this most challenging of periods, been really blessed to have friends coming together, showing support, learning about different aspects of the war and how this has impacted on the lives of many of our Israeli friends and family and loved ones. And each time, not only have we learned something new, but I think we've uh, sort of got a peek into aspects of Israeli society that we wish we knew less about, frankly. But under the circumstances, and extraordinary people have stepped into extraordinary times and have shown different kinds of resilience, different kinds of abilities to achieve. We're going to focus today actually on a topic which we haven't covered in some time as a standalone topic. That is an issue of women in Israeli society. And it's become very clear for any of you that have been watching our series that many of the people who have already stepped into leadership roles and are doing critical work since October 7th, and obviously before October 7th, are women, including many young women who, by virtue of their skill sets and their positions and activities, both inside the Army during their Army service, but also afterwards with the work they're doing both in reserves and in their private capacities, have been able to really harness some incredible resources that have really made a difference. So I want to, before I introduce our wonderful panel today from Bonot Alternativa, I'd like to ask each of you in the audience, with a recognition that, sort of nobody comes into leadership without sort of following on someone else's shoulders. So I would love for people to just reflect a little bit on female role models in your own lives, whether you're a man or a woman or however you identify. If you could maybe just share some love and memory of or honor for any female role model in your own life who's had a significant impact on you. Now, that could be someone you studied with, it could be someone in your family, it could be someone you've met or read about, someone who's famous, or maybe someone who's not famous. And we got our first shout out for Linda's mom. And so moms definitely count. I will second that emotion. We got a grandmother who's a college professor from Deborah. Doctors within a clinic that Susan worked at. So people from many different professions and backgrounds have played that role and sort of shown what what really heroism, what really leadership looks like. And indeed today, if you look at Israeli society, if you look at the IDF, if you look at people who are at the very front lines of the response in Israel to the challenge of the war with Hamas, you see many women of many different ages that are doing things that are really quite extraordinary. So I want to begin now by introducing two of those women who have been involved with an organization for some time, Bonot, now known as Bonot Alternativa. I'm thrilled to have the founder of this organization, Moran Katzenstein. She has an incredible background, which includes being a marketing executive that has worked for clients like Google and Coca-Cola and L'Oreal. She has built an organization that has activists now in over 80 different cities and towns throughout Israel. Her background comes with a formal MBA from Tel Aviv College of Management. She has an intelligence background, having worked in the Shin Bet, and the hardest job in the world. She's a mother of three. Moran, we'll talk a little bit in a moment with your colleague Lee Hoffman Agiv as well. Perhaps you want to started off by just explaining a little bit about Bonot and where you are at the moment and why you're there.
Hi, thank you so much for the generous introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm Moran Katzenstein, and I'm 41 years old. I'm a mother of 3 young boys. Currently, I'm in New York, as I was as part of a women delegation. I came here and I stayed for a couple of days because we're having a meeting here in New York and tomorrow in Washington. But it was really important to me to come here and talk to you. As Wayne mentioned, I have most of my background is from business in marketing, in international brands. And 3 years ago, I founded Bonot Alternativa as a grassroots organization. It was after a horrifying gang rape that happened in Eilat. I have to say that I didn't have any background in activism or gender-based work. But I decided I want to do strikes all over the country, and I did with the help of a lot of women. And throughout those 3 years, we grew to be the biggest, the largest women movement in Israel, fighting for women's rights. We are over 130,000 women, and we were very active during the protest in the judicial overall. And we are focusing on everything we think is for women's rights, and if we feel someone is going to hurt women's rights. And I have to say that our activity is really been splitted until October 7th and afterwards. We've just checked recently, and Lee and I talked on October 7th in 9 in the morning. The first time went in 6:30 in the morning. And we talked, the management in Bonot talked, and we understood immediately that everything is changing. We didn't understand the scale and how horrifying it is, but we understood that we are in war. And in our next meeting, I would like to share with you a bit of our activity of Bonot in general and things that we're doing right now. So before I'll start, I want to show you a quick, just a second. I would like to share with you a quick movie. Wait, my computer is stuck from some reason. So if you can play it, I don't know why the home is stuck. Okay, that's weird.
הקמתי את בונות אלטרנטיבה לפני 3 שנים, אחרי האונס המזעזע באילת. אנחנו החלטנו שאנחנו לא מוכנות יותר שיפגעו ויחלישו נשים. התחלנו בקבוצת וואטסאפ של 40 נשים, והיום אנחנו מעל 100,000 נשים פרוסות ב80 ערים ברחבי הארץ ובעוד 20 מוקדים ברחבי העולם. מאז ועד היום אנחנו נמצאות בכל מקום שבו צריך להציב קו אדום לפגיעה בזכויות שלנו, אבל גם פועלות לקידום נשים ושמירה על ביטחון של נשים, מה שהפך להיות רלוונטי יותר מאי פעם, במיוחד אחרי 7 באוקטובר. כבר בערב 7 באוקטובר פתחנו חמ"ל עבור ציוד ותרומות. תוך 3 ימים העברנו את המתנדבים והמתנדבות שלנו לשיתוף פעולה מלא עם חמ"ל האקספו. בפחות משבועיים הקמנו פעוטונים וגנים בבתי מלון ותמכנו במשפחות מפונות במזון, סיוע וליווי בקהילה בכל רחבי הארץ.
שבועיים לתוך המלחמה הבנו שאנחנו חייבות להזרים חמצן לכלכלה הישראלית. לכן הקמנו את בונות כלכלה, שמסייע לנשים בעלות עסקים גם בזמן הלחימה.
מהרגע הראשון היה ברור לכולנו שהתצפיתניות חוות קושי ומצוקה אחרים משאר החיילים. בסיוע של נשות בונות אלטרנטיבה ששירתו בתפקיד בעבר, הקמנו תוכנית ליווי וסיוע מיידי, נפשי ופיזי, במטרה לוודא שאף תצפיתנית לא תישאר מאחור.
הקמנו מטה במטרה להביא להכרה בינלאומית של פשעי המגדר שביצע חמאס נגד נשים ונערות בישראל. הוצאנו אלפי נשים לרחובות, למחות נגד השתיקה הרועמת של ארגוני הנשים בעולם.
אנחנו מקימות בימים אלה מרכזי מנהיגות של בונות אלטרנטיבה ברחבי הארץ. בונות בחירום, מנהיגות בשגרה. המנהיגות הבאות של מדינת ישראל נמצאות שם, במרכזים האלה, בבונות אלטרנטיבה. אנחנו נמצאות בכל מקום שצריך אותנו. אנחנו כאן, ואנחנו כאן כדי להישאר.
Actually, I wasn't sure that you saw the subtitles because there were subtitles in English, and when I watched, I couldn't see it, but maybe we can share it afterwards with the viewers because it has the English subtitles all along the short clip.
Yeah, we did see them. We're good.
Okay, so maybe it was just me. So really a quick, can you see it in full screen, the presentation?
Yes, you have something blocking from your on your screen, but we can see it.
But okay, just a second. Okay, now it's okay. You can see the screen.
Yeah, it's your toolbars though that are blocking some of the image at top. Yeah, where your cursor is now.
Okay, I can take it down. Okay. So a bit about Bonot Alternativa. We are a non-partisan women organization. As I said, we started as 400 women in a WhatsApp group, and now we are over 135,000 women in over 80 cities. We have 3,500 women ambassadors that are part of Bonot Alternativa program. I have to say that we are in Israel, but there are also a lot of reach out during the past month from women, a lot of Israeli women, but not just, to open new chapters of Bonot around the globe. So we are expanding because a lot of women want to raise their voice about what's happening on the gender-based violence happened in the October 7th, which I will elaborate. And if I had to say what we're doing best is really, we are a very strong grassroots organization, but our ability to drive women to action and to really bring attention to public and media, to the public and to the media is very strong. And we are using these advantages also for helping Israel, telling the story of what happened to women in Israel. So if I have to say what the Bonot Alternativa is doing ever since October 7th, I will divide it to 3 pillars. The first pillar is everything about the war, which is a really amazing, I think even historical scale of work. We adopted a city in the south of Israel of Akim. We are supporting the female spotters, the Tetzpitaniot, and we opened emergency centers all around Israel, and Lee will elaborate about it. I think, wait, I'll just close it for a sec. I prefer to talk. So this is like the first pillar, the activity of what we're doing in the war. The second thing is that, I don't know if you're aware, and I will not get into details, but there were gender-based violence against women and men during the attack of October 7th. And we initiated the headquarters of the recognition of Hamas crimes they did. And on last Monday, there was a great meeting, a big meeting in the UN. And during the morning, we published an open letter. I can show you here in the New York Times. And this letter is for all women, not just for women organizations to raise their voice. And that was published on the New York Times. And also there were ads on Times Square. And also we did a big demonstration before the UN conference started with a display. Almost 1,000 women, Jewish and Israeli women participated. And we also did this handbook that has all the information about gender-based violence, and we are having a lot of meetings to talk about it and to raise awareness. And I think we're starting to see the impact of our work and women organization from Israel. So that's very important. I feel like this is the first step for the world and women in the world to understand that something horrific happened. And even if it doesn't fit their narrative, they have to speak up. And the third thing we are doing and focusing, the third pillar is leadership. Because I think right now, Bonot Alternativa is the biggest management program or leadership program in Israel. It's not like we teach them. This is like how they are trained. We have over 130 leaders in those 80 cities that are leading groups of hundreds and sometimes thousands of women. We had a municipality election that was supposed to occur on October and got postponed. And 26 out of those 130 leaders was running to municipality election, which was amazing. I'm talking about the leaders, not just activists that are part of Bonot and running. And we are talking about women that didn't even thought about politics before. And that's so important because representation is one of our core values. And I guess that Lee will tell you more about it as well. Later on, I will share with you how you can contact and have more information if you like. Thank you, Wayne.
There we go. I was on mute. Moran, thanks for that introduction. Coming from New York, I have lots of questions I want to ask you about the United Nations and the reactions to the New York Times article, etc. We'll hold off on that. We're going to go now to the field. What better way to do that than to go to the field manager of Bonot Alternativa, live from Hod HaSharon, Israel, one of my favorite little towns in Israel. Lee Hoffman Agiv earned her bachelor's in economics from Tel Aviv University. She's an entrepreneur running a women-owned business. And now she is heading operations for a rather large operation all over the country of Israel. So Lee, tell us what's keeping you up at night these days, aside from your two daughters.
So hi, everyone. Thank you, Wayne. My name is Lee. I'm 36 years old. I live in Hod HaSharon. I'm married to Guy, which is amazing. And we have two daughters. They're 8 and 4. And when the demonstration started in January 2023, I saw a story that Moran uploaded, and she said that if you want to come and stand with me, I will be at Kaplan 26th Street, and please join us. Come in a red T-shirt, and that's what I did. I didn't know Moran very well. I just knew who she was, and then I started marching with the Bonot Alternativa every Saturday. And we started about 16 women, and then we were 30, and then we were 50. And a few weeks after, we demonstrated in Jerusalem, and that was the first Handmaid's Tale march that we held. And I participated in that march. That was a very intense experience. And it was a very long experience that day. It took us almost an hour just to manage to go all the way down towards the Knesset, and then we went up on the stage. It wasn't planned. It was very, very like people just opened the door for us, just said, okay, go up, because what we did was crazy. And when we finished, I told one of the management members, Omer, I told her that I have a few ideas and a few suggestions on how we should do things next time that we have a demonstration. And the one thing you need to know about Bonot Alternativa is that you have to be very careful when you suggest an idea, because usually the answer will be, great idea, do it. So that's exactly what happened. She told me, oh, great idea. I'm going to open a WhatsApp group and I'm going to put you there. And then you decide what we do, how we do it, and good luck. And that's what happened. And that Saturday, we did another demonstration in Tel Aviv with the Handmaid's Tale March. And then we did another one. And then what happened is that we started receiving a lot of calls from women and men everywhere in Israel, telling us that they want to have a march in their own town. And some of them were like, can you come and do it? And some of them said, can you teach me how to do it? And what we immediately identified is that there is an opportunity here, because I can give them like the measurement of the head and to tell them to go buy the cape, but I can also tell them to start a community. And what we did is we opened WhatsApp groups everywhere, like wherever we received a request. I told them, if you want me to tell you how to do it, you open a group in WhatsApp, you add me to the group, put me an admin. I will help you with the appearance of the group, with the info. I will add you to another group of the leaders of all of those communities, all of those WhatsApp groups. And then I will teach you how to do it. And let's invite all of your friends from where you live to the group, and let's start working together. And that's what happened. We did it in 80 different cities in Israel, from the Golan Heights in the north all the way south to Eilat. And we actually created a community of about 100,000 women in Israel. And what's most interesting is that those women that reached out, most of them are still with us, and they're not just someone who marched a Handmaid's Tale march in the demonstration. They're now leaders, they're local leaders. And as Moran said, many of them ran for office in their city. And we're talking about women that some of them never protested, they've never been activists before. It was very new to them. It was new to me. As you mentioned, Wayne, I was a business owner, and I need to update you that in the middle of October, I decided that I am leaving my business, and I left it to my partner, and I'm now full-time in Bonot Alternativa. And I am focusing only on our social activities and on managing the field and expanding it and making it a very big force of strong women that want to make a difference.
So I'm trying to think about really the trajectory of that growth. If this was just a business and you were watching, different snifim opening up all over the country for something, different chapters, what the best way to both manage that growth and to support it, and then to have you found so far that the needs in Eilat are similar to the needs in Carmiel, or are you finding that your efforts at both for the leadership and for the activities are really very localized and require different kinds of attention and resources?
Well, first of all, it's very personal. I know each and every one of the local leaders. I know many of the volunteers and activists in the groups. I have a team. I'm not working alone. I have a team of regional managers. That's new. They were all volunteers, and many of them has accepted on themselves, like actually working for that. And so each and every one of them has to know all of the leaders, have to be very aware to what's going on inside the groups. I have a community manager and she can send me a message like something is going on in the Herzliya group. You need to pay attention. Please go to the group and see what's going on and see if you can assist, calm them down, or maybe give them answers to some questions that they're raising. And so it's very, very personal. Obviously, our groups in the south, in the western Negev region, they suffered the biggest heat and they're evacuated. And so we, Moran, myself, and my regional managers, we took a flight to Eilat because they were evacuated to Eilat, and we went to meet with them and sit with them and see what they need. We have many groups in the north that sometimes they text us and they say that it's very intense at night because there are like alerts on terrorists trying to enter from the border in the east and the east-north. And so every region has its own issues now. Some of the cities have took a lot of evacuees, so they found themselves volunteering a lot, cooking for families, helping with the kids, and working with the city halls, with the welfare. And so it's very different from town to town and from region to region.
Moran, when you hear Lee, casually mention she quits her day job in order to devote her full time now working with these activists all over the country, what is it telling you both about what's working with your model and about what's needed, for sort of the next stages on the home front?
First of all, I think it's supposed to happen earlier. But eventually she understood. There was a little pressure. I think that the fact that we opened the groups geographically to begin with was really helpful, because then the women met every week and knew each other and had a relationship among themselves. And then it was even easier to build leadership, because then you can connect the leadership to the municipality and to other leaders in the community. And we build Bonot in a way that we have the groups, the city groups, and then we have 5 area managers: South, North, Center, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and then Lee. So it's not like Lee is working just with the city leaders, but with the area managers, and that's very helpful. And I think that the next level for us is that it will be full time for those leaders of the area managers, because that's a lot of responsibility. Like, for example, in the north, we have over 40 points, like 40 areas just in the north. And there is a lot of collaborations that happen there. And we need, you remember what I said about this leadership program? So they have a lot of initiatives, and they are getting asked about a lot of initiatives. And we want to give them the opportunity to take decisions on their own as well. For example, in the north, there is an NGO of Israeli Arab women. It's called Sindianat Galil. They are creating olive oil. And they reached out to us because we worked together before, and said that they are having their annual harvest of olives. And we decided to join them. And afterwards, we reached out to our entire north area and invited them to come to this event. And they told us that usually every year they have about 80 participants. And this year they had 500 participants, and they never harvest so many tons. And the reason I'm talking about it, because it happened only a few weeks after the war started. and everything was very delicate and very emotional. And our area leader, she was the one pushing it. And I have to say, and I have to be honest, that I was afraid about what will be the responses, but she really felt that's important and she pushed for it and we agreed and it was amazing.
I think you're right that from the model you're describing, first of all, it's a more sophisticated management model that it is able to identify the different regions and to empower someone at that next level to be able to build and follow up. Obviously, doing some kind of an oil project with local groups at the time of their harvest is a different project than in Tel Aviv that you're would need. We did have a question early on from Lori. I guess I'll put this to you, Lee, about when the these groups meet, what's a typical meeting like? First of all, are these in-person meetings? Are they Zoom meetings? Who determines the agenda of the meetings? Is it informal? Is it formalized?
So it depends on the issue. So when we were working on the municipal elections, then they had many meetings regarding, like we had a big project of lecturers regarding women's rights and how the municipal elections affect women's rights. So that was the subject then. And when we were demonstrating, well, every Saturday they were just protesting and holding signs and taking action. And after October 7th, many of their meetings are either supporting each other, talking about the future, or helping the community. And now what we're working on is giving them the added value, because by January 23, it was a group of very powerful women in the Israeli industry and journalists and influencers. It was a very strong group of women. But what happened afterwards is that many kinds of women joined, and we didn't even have the time to stop and think, like, what is the added value? Okay, we protest every week, but then what's the value? So on October 7th, first of all, obviously everything changed. But then what I'm doing the last month is I'm thinking of what's the added value if you are an activist or a volunteer in Bonot Alternativa. So, okay, I joined, but why am I staying? And we're working on giving them from, life tools and how to be a good manager and how to be a leader, and to everyday tools like we saw in the video where you see Chen, one of our board members, that was talking about our economic programs for independent women, business owners. And so we're always working on how to give added value. And who is Bonot activist, participant, volunteer?
I want to add to that, if I can, that I think the magic of Bonot, and of course I'm not objective, is that everyone can suggest an idea, a move, and it's not just by hierarchy. This is what I'm hoping to make, and I hope it won't change even as big as we can. I mean, even if we are big, that it won't change, and everyone can feel it can make an impact. And this feeling that you are getting out of your couch and doing something, and then to see the impact, it's so powerful. Even now we took upon ourselves to do something in the most biggest scale, to make the world talk and believe to the audacity of the things that happened on October 7th to women, when for 2 months no one was willing to talk about it, and we did, and the world is talking about it, and leadership is talking about it, the world leadership is talking about it. Like, the feeling that you can do something and you can make a change is so powerful. And women feels that, and that's why we are opening so many chapters around the globe. And in the US, we opened over 16 chapters by now, which I hope won't be just Israeli, but also Jewish women and non-Jewish women, because the sense of impact is something you can't replace.
We had a question from Mora about the specific dynamic of Jewish and Arab women coming together. And I know you gave the example of the collaboration around the oil harvest. Are there other examples where within the groups, or obviously it's different in different regions, but are there other examples where that collaboration is being seen either around the elections issues or issues? We've done programs in the past around gender-based violence and issues of discrimination in different religious groups, etc., in Israeli society, and found Jewish, Arab, Christian, Muslim mix among the women. I'm curious if you're seeing that as well, or if the war has in some ways altered that more recently.
So I have to say that we are not targeting Arab women, but they are coming, and this is what we want, because if they are relating to our values, then we welcome them. And during the judicial overall protest, for example, we did the red shirt, so we also did it in Arab along the Hebrew writing, and they joined us and we walked together. And also we did a lot of meetups, and one of the meetups, or several of the meetups, were in Foradis and other Arab villages and cities. And we have like one member, very strong member, which is a teacher in Lud. And yet I have to say, we don't have enough. We don't have enough Arab participants, and that's remind me, Lee, that we should talk to Miada because I think we should, we can do more together. But the thing is, what I like about how it happens now, it happens organically. It's not like we say, okay, we need to make a plan. No, it's coming grassroots, and that's the most beautiful way, things to happen.
We have a question from Carla about what activities you're involved in that are targeted for the communities on the borders that have had to move. They've been evacuated from their homes. Some of them have children. We've focused on some of that with in our prior episodes, and wondering, where you're. At least Carla is asking about what your efforts are in that arena.
So, kind of like what Moran said, that things happen organically. When the war started, we opened a situation room that was focused on women, and it was held by women. It's still running, but it's more focused now. And in the beginning, one thing that happened is that evacuees from Ofakim were almost forced to leave their hotel because the government didn't pay. And so we said that there's no situation that we will allow for women and children to be pushed away from hotels. So we actually paid for 5 nights in one hotel, and I think 2 or 3 nights in another one in the Dead Sea and in Netanya. And what happened after in Netanya is that our Bonot Alternativa team, the local team, became very, very friendly with the women in 6 different hotels of evacuees in Netanya, and they opened kindergartens. The city council actually approached our team, and they asked, "Are you willing to help?" And they opened the kindergarten together for the toddlers. In Israel, ages 0 to 3, you don't have subsidized kindergartens, and those people are not working and they're living in a hotel. And so we're still running 6 different kindergartens in Netanya. In Ofakim, in the city itself, we have met with the mayor and with the welfare manager and with the high school director, and we have actually like kind of adopted the high school. We helped them to build a game room and a safe place for the kids to come, because it was very difficult for them to bring the kids, like to get them to come to school. So we helped the school director with tools on like how to bring them to come to school and study, because he didn't want them to stay at home. It was a very difficult atmosphere. And we have we opened a house in Modi'in, which is in the Judean area, and our team in Modi'in, it was their own initiative. They opened the house and they invited all the families to come to the house and to drink coffee and to take a deep breath, and just to relax for a moment while they're helping them with the kids. And if they needed clothes, they took care of clothes. They got requests like, I need a specific book because we left all the books behind. They found all the books that they were looking for. Like, you need a shoe in a specific size, in a specific model, they would find it for you. And they invited the families to come to the house, and they also sent requests, like they answered requests from the hotels in the Dead Sea. And the shipments were like very specific. It wasn't like a big truck coming. It was a box with specific stuff that one family needed. And also our local communities are hugging like whoever needs. If it's the families that one of the parents is in the reserved army, or for example in Herzliya we have 3 families that the kids were kidnapped from the party or soldiers, and they helped them a lot. So every location did something else, like according to the needs of the area.
Moran, I want to come back to you about your current mission and your reason for being in New York. There are probably generations of Israelis that don't have a lot of faith in the United Nations, shmoom, a sense that the world is not going to be fair toward Israel in its deliberations, etc. And at this moment, you've decided to prioritize raising the issue of how in a war women have been targeted with violence, and in a way that not all of the allies, I guess one would expect, to be raising their voices. And so a lot of us have been wondering about this issue. We talked about this a few weeks back. What have you seen now that you're on the ground? Can you tell us a little bit about what the reactions you've heard and seen about trying to raise this issue more forcefully by Israeli women to the larger global community?
So I have to say that our strategy was not just to focus the UN Women Organization, was just women organization. For example, the one pager, the open letter was to all women. Every woman who considers herself an activist or a feminist has to draw a red line. Another decision we took is that we are not asking them to choose side. We are not asking them to choose between the Palestinian and the Israelis. No, we're talking about women. Women need to draw a red line because we can't allow that women's bodies will be used as a weapon in an act of war. And I have to say that area conflicts are well known that women's bodies are being used as an act of war in gender-based violence, but it was also well known that this doesn't happen in Israel, and we can't allow it to become a norm. And this is something we're asking women to raise their voice. And the strategy was, we are going to target public opinion. We are going to target the media outlets, which we already saw some publications all over the world. And we are going to target leaders. And that's, we saw it in the UK and in the Congress and in the US government. And eventually, if the women organization will join, that's okay. I'm not waiting for them. But my only expectation, I'm not waiting for their condemn, but to them to condemn. But women organization and human organization have one job: to do everything in their power to release those women and young girls and men, of course. I don't know if you are aware, but the US government officials said that they have a reason to believe, and I believe them, that the reason that Hamas didn't free those hostages is because they are afraid that they will tell to the world what happened to them. And we have indication that it might still be happening. We need to save those women. We have to. And that's my only demand of those human organizations. I don't need them to condemn anything. I need them to act. And this Sima, head of the UN Women Organization, should resign because she's a failure.
Lee, I want to talk about start this a piece of this discussion about what women's leadership looks like and how it differs from other types of just obviously male leadership or leadership that isn't focused on gender. You started a business with a partner and which was exclusively women-led. You're now managing this nationwide operation involving different nodes of women leadership group throughout the country. In what ways would you say it's different, and you can identify either operations that are different or insights or a culture that is different that is allowing you to be effective and to take what you learn from really the private sector and apply it now in this sort of more public setting?
Well, when I look at the women around me, one thing that I see is being more sensitive to the surrounding. Like when you make a decision, it's not only a cold calculation. So you take in consideration people's needs, people's feelings. Many of the men that are leading now in Israel, many of them are generals. Okay, so they're accustomed to a very heavy system of the army. And the women that I'm around, we don't work that way. We join hands, we work together. When I always say, like, okay, I'm in a position where I have influence, I have power. First thing I do, I reach out for more women to come and stand aside me. I'm not working alone. I'm not a lone ranger running forward. And I always say, like, who can I take with me? How can we work better together? And
I have to say that can create a lot of headaches because there is so many women that he wants to consult with. So sometimes it's not just so easy to take decisions, but it's so important. I think this is like a feminine, like female leadership. This is how it goes.
Yeah, and it's like when you think of what's most important, well, for us, obviously, the most important thing is first of all, when you think of the hostages, every day that they're there, it's untolerable. They need to come home now, and I'm not sure how and why it's not the first priority. And there are no women in the cabinet. There are no women in the room. So I hear families of the hostages that are demanding that they will add women to the cabinet, like the families, not us. The families of the hostages are demanding that they will add women to the cabinet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We have a question from Lori about the issue of the sexual violence against the hostages, the aspect. Is there any written material or anything in the press that can be shared at this point, or I guess, you know, this obviously very difficult. This is a human right. Let's back up a step. This is a human rights issue that uniquely affects women. Women that you are advocating on behalf for, Israeli women who are in captivity or who have been violated from the early days of the war. What's the best way that people who want to raise this issue up, are there materials that they can point to or utilize that you know, would be helpful at this point?
Yeah, so wonderful, and I'm so happy for this question. So we will share a link with all the information, and also there's a PDF download for this information. And I have to say that right now I just got a list of links of all of the media coverage by now of this issue. So there is coverage in CNN and CNBC. So we see that. We see it in the New York Times. So the media outlet is starting to talk about it, and it's very important that we proceed with our pressure. During the night here in New York, we saw that the UNICEF is also addressed it. Too little, too late, of course, but they did, and we know that it is part of the pressure, as part of our pressure as well. It came out of as a result of our pressure. It's not just happened, and we need to put more pressure, because I believe that that's the beginning. You know, that the problem is that people don't believe what happened on October 7th. So the first thing, we need to convince them that this is really happening to women. And then they have to understand that everything about October 7th was true, even though it's horrifying to understand it. And the third thing is that they need to understand that the Palestinian fight, and it doesn't matter what you feel about it, it's not Hamas. Palestinian and Hamas are not together. It's not the same thing. And what Hamas did, who killed children and raped women, is not Palestinian cause. We need to separate it. We don't just need to ask people choose sides, because when you choose sides, it's a problem. Just choose humanity.
When you all made the decision early on, before the war, to invoke the image of the Handmaid's Tale, of the cloaks, at a minimum, it ended up being a very powerful image for people. It got a lot of attention around the issue. Since the war has started, do you feel there are other aspects of that legacy, that the Margaret Atwood novel and the Hulu series that has become very popular, in terms of, as you were saying, I was thinking, Moran, about the fact that some people just don't believe it, right? That these things had happened, and it occurs to me that not only have these things happened throughout history, as you said, but they're happening now in our present times. And I'm trying to think for both of you, what you feel wakes people up the most. What is that sort of source for positive activism when there is something so violent and offensive that is at the root of this current crisis?
I think a lot of women related to the image and the fact that it says so much without even saying a word. You know, when we started our protest, we were wearing red and we had red signs, like Lee said before, and there weren't too many women joined us. I mean, some of them joined and more and more, and then a friend suggested the Handmaid's Tale protest, and we decided we will try it. And we did, and it made history. So sometimes you just need to find the right image that captured so many people. And I have to admit also, you know, that's very, like, if we are in like a Gen Z generation, this is a very Instagrammed visual. But I think that the fact that anyone can see it and understand what we're trying to say and what the message is helped us a lot. You don't have to shout, you don't have to scream, you don't have to, you know, tie yourself to a fence. You just have a strong visual that tells all the entire story.
And also, I would like to add two things. First is that Margaret Atwood herself approached us, and on a recorded interview, she said that when she wrote the book, she didn't invent anything. Like, everything in the book happened somewhere, not everything in the same place, but it happened somewhere. And I could really relate to that, because we felt like, whoa, this government is going to hurt women. And it did. Like, everything that we said that they're going to do, they actually did. They fired all the CEOs from the government offices. There were no ministers, almost no women in the coalition. They canceled laws that are protecting women. And if it was up to them, then there were no women in the army. And now we know that women in the army are very, very important. We saw it in October 7th. And the second thing is what happened with those images is that it made some of the government members, it just drove them crazy. And they kept on talking about us on TV and interviews. And even this week, they're still talking about our demonstrations, like our Handmaid's Tale. They're still talking about it, even this week. And it feels like every time that they are mad about us, they continue talking about that, because we take the attention from them into the important work that we're doing. And it irritates them. They can't bear it. And we actually see it even this week, which is crazy, that on the week that we are in the UN talking about what happened to women and making world leaders to talk about it, they're still talking about those images that we created 6 months ago. So although we're not doing it now, we're working very hard to get aid for Israel, you know, for Israeli women and men, and they're still talking about it.
Well, thanks for wearing your red Bonot shirt for our webinar today. And Moran, I'm going to give you the last word. We're coming up on the top of the hour.
I'm wearing our pin.
But we did have a question. Someone asked about how you're being financed. So I want to just give you the opportunity to share, you know, how you've grown and what you need to grow further as we close out the episode.
So during the judicial overall protest, we sold T-shirts. That's how we could finance ourselves. We just sold T-shirts, but right now our 100% of the income come from donations and support. And that's what allow us to do those amazing things we're doing in those 3 pillars I mentioned, in the aid for the war, in our headquarters for the recognition of Hamas crimes, which we already see the things and the impact, and in the leadership, because our mission is to make sure that even if there is going to be a new leadership in Israel, the first thing we need to do is to build trust. And in order to do so, we must have women around the decision-making table. We can't allow that the situation that happened before will happen again. This is one of our most important missions. And we do need support. And we can give a link for support. It's also will be in the website that we will share with you. I can share it with you, and I would like you to also know, just a second, that we will love to be in touch with you. There is, I'll show you. So if you want to join our update groups, you can scan this QR code on the left, and if you want to learn more about us, you can scan the right QR code. It's got everything inside. The update groups are in WhatsApp. So if you don't have WhatsApp, you can join our mailing list and then be updated. So you're more than welcome to get more information about us, and there is also relevant links for donation if you like.
Terrific. Well, thank you to you, Lee, and thank you to you, Moran. Nasiya Tova, when you return back to Israel. We hope it's a successful trip for you in New York and DC. We're grateful for your really just sort of explaining to our audience about how they can get involved and be more educated and be more activists. That's both for men and women. We have a mixed audience, and whether you are a woman or just have a mother or a sister or a cousin or a niece or grandmother or someone else who you want to ensure has the same rights as you do, Bonot Alternativa has built something that we can all be very proud of, and is giving an opportunity to stand up and be seen to address these human rights issues. We here at America Israel Friendship League have lots in store for you for this month of December. On the 17th, which is our next episode, we'll be discussing something for the first time in the context of the war from the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy. We'll be having our first forum on that topic. We hope you'll come back on the 17th. And then we also have programs on the 20th and 27th. If you want to mark your calendar, our great gallery tour guide, Gabriella Weisinger, we've had to interrupt her series that we've been doing with terrific artists from around the world, many of them women like Gabriella. We haven't had the ability to even touch this topic, but we put something together which we think will be great for the holidays. I don't think I'll get to see you all again for with the start of Hanukkah, which is just around the block. So want to wish to you all, for anyone celebrating, Chag Sameach, Hanukkah Sameach. May it be a safe week. May we get some good news about the return of the remaining hostages. We have to continue to both hope, pray, and act for that. That's one of the takeaways from this episode, from every episode. It won't be just miracles. It will take actual work and activism to make that happen. Lehitraot.